I have no time for games.
Hey guys, what's up? What's going on? It's the Gaming Fanboy, and welcome back to the channel. So today, we want to talk about the upcoming possible nerfs that are coming next month. So first of all, let's go ahead and let's put out like a disclaimer, sort of, right, on these cards, because I think it needs to be explained for those people who haven't seen the post that they're intending on nerfing some cards. Now they have mentioned the cards that they are thinking of nerfing, but they're saying these may as what cards they're looking at, meaning that they may nerf cards around it or nerf cards in regards to it, but they kind of give a list of about 10 cards that they think need a nerf. Some of these nerfs I feel are horribly misguided, and I want to go over that right now. So first off, let's go ahead and get going, because there's a lot of information to take in, and and kind of this gives us an idea of where they are mentally when it comes to actual upcoming nerfs and how they plan on nerfing things. So let's start off with the elephant in the room, the wild nerf, which is definitely happening, and which is Nagas, which the post said something about they want to see if things are trends or not trends before they decide to nerf it, because they feel like, you know, the meta will evolve and change later, and they feel like the honeymoon phase is over with Nagas, and it's going to be changed. So those of you who don't know, Nagas basically got changed to where she works with giants really well. So basically when you drop her, all she does is just drop like a ton of giants on the board, and the game state is ridiculous. Now, it kind of bothers me that people have been complaining about Nagas for a while, and they didn't do anything, and they haven't even touched Barnes. And more people have been more upset with Barnes than they have with Nagas, and Barnes is a card that's only going to get worse with time. That being said, I don't know why they didn't nerf Barnes. People have been calling for this nerf for a long time now. A really long time. And they refuse to nerf it. Like, they don't want to nerf Barnes at all. They don't want to nerf that card. They refuse. Anyhow, so that's that. Let's get that out of the way. So now let's go into constructed standard. The first card that they talked about is Sunkeeper Term. Sunkeeper Term. Alright, here's how I feel about Sunkeeper Term, right? Sunkeeper Term can be horribly oppressive, but it's really only horribly oppressive because of how much sticking power Paladin has right now, and how much Paladin can just get on the board with minions, and how many minions some classes just can't handle dealing with, like two call to arms turns, or, you know, a bunch of crazy 1s and 2 drops, and that causes Term to feel very oppressive, right? And I feel like while Term might need a nerf, as far as like I personally feel like Term should be at least a 3-5 or a 3-6. That way, you know, if when you Term, your minions can still punch through it, and it's still like an equalizer. You know, Term is still able to, because right now Term can pacify big minions, create large boards, create kill minions, could turn a bunch of low quality minions into just a bunch of 3/3s to just decimate your opponent. It's just so unbelievably flexible. And then also when it is played, your opponent's board state, like, they can't even break it. They need 3 minions to attack through it that are already on the board, which is just not likely. That's asking for way too much. And they have, like, it's just not, it's really oppressive, but it is mostly because Paladins have an immense amount of sticking power, right? You know, when you're dealing with call to arms turns and all these 1 drops and 2 drops, and, you know, and then especially curving into turn 6, you can't beat that, right? And there are certain times where you just feel like you can't do anything about it. But I feel like looking at Term is the bad look if they're gonna gut him. I don't think he needs to be gutted. I think maybe his stats need to be set back a little bit, so that way the minions on your opponents feel that he does turn into 3/3s, can go through him, or maybe I mean, a lot of people, some people suggested like only turning his minions into 3/3s. That's insane. That's not a good idea, because then that makes him more of an aggressive tool when he's supposed to be more of an equalizer tool. I just feel like he should be able to be punched through a lot easier when he comes down, right? He shouldn't be able to absorb 3 attacks from the minions he transformed plus have his own board. That's like the perfect aggression / defensive card. Anyhow, so next card. We're going to move on from him. The next card we want to talk about is Call to Arms. Now, Call to Arms, in my opinion, is absolutely amazing. This card is broken. It is beyond broken. I want you to think about Call to Arms from a mana perspective, right? On average, you get about 2 2-drops to 3 2-drops. With a lot of times the 1/1 Divine Shield taunt the Paladin has, that's a 1-drop, but in my opinion, that's 2 drops worth of stats, because a 1/1 with Divine Shield and taunt is absolutely amazing. So, understand, when you recruit something, you're essentially drawing and playing it, right? So when you play 6 mana worth of stuff from the deck, you're essentially drawing 3 cards, putting 3 cards into play, assuming they don't have battle cries, right? So if they don't have battle cries, you've literally drawn and played 3 cards. So let's say you draw and play 3 2-drops. You've played 6 mana worth of cards, not even from your hand, but from your deck. So you've drawn. So imagine if a card said, draw 3 cards and play them immediately ignoring cost, right? That's pretty much what Call to Arms is. So it deck thins immensely, especially with loot hoarders, right? Because you play 4 2 to 1 mana cards, and when you kill them, they draw, and the cards that they're drawing have more value because they're not likely to draw a 2 or 1-drop anymore. Especially if they're on like their second Call to Arms, the odds are whatever they're drawing into is Sunkeeper Term, and it's Kings, it's Spiker Steed, and it's really what makes these turns feel oppressive, right? It's really what makes the state of the Paladin situation, especially the Even and Murloc Paladin situation, so unfair. Because while your opponent has a possibility to dead draw if they're not playing a Warlock, as a Paladin you're just drawing just butter 24/7. All you're doing is just drawing greatness after that Call to Arms. Like there's very little chance, there's very little downside. It's at a point where if you want to make a deck, right, and you're looking at Paladin, you can't not include Call to Arms. And if a card is so good that you can't not include it, like it's just not really much of an option. Like you would be stupid to not build around this card to make your idea. Like I want to make Quest Paladin. Well, I gotta fill the Call to Arms requirement first because it's just so good. And I feel like that is a problem. I feel like because of that needs. There's some people are saying nerf this to 5. Playing up to 6 mana worth of cards from your deck for free, and putting them in play. I mean, even 5 is decent, right? I mean, 5 will dial it back. It kind of puts it in board clear. But here's the problem I have with putting it at 5 mana. Let's say you line it up with a board clear like a Mage's Dragonfire, right? You Call to Arms Mage Dragonfire. So the problem is that's a low tempo play, and yeah, sure, it's nice to be able to line up Dragonfire, which is still good, which is a lot better than what it is now. Because right now it lines up with nothing. But after that they can just flood the board again. The problem is still kind of there. I think 5 will be a kind of nice tap on the wrist for it. I personally think it should be a 4 mana Summit Recruit 2. The power of recruiting is just so powerful. A 4 mana Recruit 2 kind of puts it more in line, and sometimes you might get understated, you might get a 1-drop and a 2-drop, and you're really committing 4 mana for 2 cards. You're not deck thinning as hard, you're not just digging through your deck as hard as you were before, but you're not completely killing the card, right? It becomes more of a balanced power play, that somebody can kind of handle on turn 4 other than like 3 minions. Hopefully one of them, the first one, isn't juggler. Hopefully it's not juggler into the dinosaur, or the juggler into Gamani Berserker. Like, that's just too much, right? And it'll dial back the kind of cards people keep in their deck, because then they can't afford to put in all these 1s and 2 drops for free anymore, right? They actually have to have a mid-game plan. So I think turning it down to recruit 2 cards is better. Turning it to 5, I don't think is as good as people think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good nerf, but I don't think it's gonna get the intended results that people want. Anyhow, moving on from Call to Arms, let's talk about the Baku Paladin Hero Power. Right now, Baku Paladin Hero Power summon 2 1/1s over and over and over again. This can be oppressive. I know that. I haven't seen many Baku Paladins in ladder. Frankly, I haven't played much ladder this month because it feels the same as it did last month, where everything is like, once you hit legend, you know, all you see is warlocks and paladins, your occasional mage, but really the majority, the higher you go, over and over and over again, it's like warlock, random class, warlock, random class, warlock, paladin, random class, paladin, warlock, random class. And it's just not fun. Or your occasional Mind Blast priest, which is also not fun, by the way. But you just fight the same deck over and over and over again, and especially with warlock being so unbelievably oppressive, I'm not a big fan of the current legend ladder state at the moment. Like this month, I've been intentionally not trying to get to legend by playing Control Hunter and Quest Paladin, because I love Quest Paladin and I love Control Hunter. Unfortunately, I've almost hit rank 2 by accident playing Quest Paladin, but I digress. So the Baku Paladin Hero Power is kind of oppressive, especially if they get Sunkeeper Term off the little 3-mana top minion, who, by the way, I hate that card. I think that card needs a nerf, by the way, as well. I think that card is just too powerful for what it does. I think Discovery should not include class-specific cards, in my opinion. I feel like the fact that and it has a bonus to get class cards, I feel that's too strong. But I don't think the Baku Paladin Hero Power, I don't think it necessarily needs like a major nerf. Maybe make it a 2/2 Squire or something, or a 2/2, or just so it doesn't flood the board as much as it does. Having access to 2 1/1s that early could be considered oppressive, but I really feel like the catalyst in this deck is Divine Favor, and I feel like they're not looking at Divine Favor. I feel like they don't want to look at Divine Favor, but I feel like Divine Favor is really what makes that deck potent, because no matter what they do, if they don't have like such a powerful draw, see, the Baku Paladin decks, they run a ton of 1-drops, and it's because they intend to just Divine Favor you. You know, they want a 1-drop hero power, 1-drop hero power, 1-drop hero power, Divine Favor. And I feel like if you nerfed Divine Favor, like made it like maybe a 5-mana card, or maybe killed it a little bit, I think that whole thing would die down, and I think you could leave the hero power as it is. Because, 2 1/1s, if they have to actually commit to the board, and 2 1/1s was their only backup plan, then I think that it would not be as effective than the fact that they have Divine Favor and they can just do a complete reload after dumping their hand and hero powering every single turn. It's Divine Favor that really makes this oppressive, because on top of the hero power, they can drop all these little 1-drops behind it, and possibly 3-drops behind it, just to kind of prep forward for the upcoming turns. So that's Paladin. So basically, in a nutshell, they're gonna gut Paladin. They're coming after you, Paladin. Uther, your time is near. The fact that they're looking at Call to Arms, Baku, and Sunkeeper Term means that they are looking at the fact that Paladin has too much board presence, but they're not looking at the fact that Paladin has a superb reload, which is, I feel, the wrong vision to look at nerfing Paladin, which makes me feel like they're going to over nerf the class incredibly next month. I feel like the fact that this is what they're looking at means that they're really planning to gut paladins, and it's going to be a slaughter to the paladin class, whatever they decide. So the next card he talked about is the Spiteful Summoner for Spiteful Summoner decks. Spiteful Summoner is an interesting card. You know, a lot of people like the deck designs and deck initiatives of Spiteful Summoner, but here's my thing when it comes to Spiteful Summoner. Spiteful Summoner it's a cool card. It's cool. It's interesting. You have to build your deck around it, and that's the excuse a lot of people give. So these Spiteful Summoner lovers, they say you have to build a deck around it. Now, I will personally tell you, I do not think Spiteful decks are good. I do not think they're good. I rarely lose to them, and it's not even their fault. Like, they can't make many plays. When the opponent you're fighting pretty much dictates the match, because spells offer a type of variety in play that minions just do not. The problem with Spiteful Summoner is right now is the fact that there are minions that act like spells, like the little 3 mana, I think 4/2 rush minion, mind control tech. They have these effects that are like spells that with bodies, and that the more those get added to the game, the more oppressive this is, right? The more early game defensive minion tools they get, the crazier things get. And what really sucks about Spiteful Summoner is on turn 6, seeing your opponent drop a 6 mana 4/4 that summons a 12/12 can't be targeted, or a 12/12 dragon, or an 8/8. You know, this kind of swing is so massive on turn 6 for some decks, right? Like, if you're not running a deck with, you know, good removal and you don't draw that removal on time, you lost. The game is over. You know, just wrap it up next game, because if you can't get over that, man, you're gonna get crushed. You know, and that is such an immense swing turn. And Blizzard has a habit of making these cards that have such a high possible swing turn, right? So a lot of people suggested, you know, burning the spell it's cast. I can see that. I like that idea, that you have to burn the spell in order to cast it. This means, like, if Spiteful Druid, Spiteful Summoners one spell and they draw another, then they don't have another spell in deck. My biggest issue, though, with that idea is, although I like it, I like the fact you have to burn the spell, that doesn't stop the swing, right? You know, still, okay, that's cute that it burns the spell, but you're still staring down a 6 mana 4/4 with a 12/12 next to it. And when you do that, you limit deck. You limit deck ability. Just like Paladins. The existence of Paladin right now is killing aggro decks, right? It's killing zoo decks. And people are like, what? Killing zoo decks? Like, when people, if you look at this video, you'll be like, what do you mean killing zoo decks? What the hell are you talking about? Well, you know, when you have such a dominant zoo deck like Paladin, like especially even Paladin, that has like qualities, Consecrate, Spore Clears, and on top of that they have aggression and power and their call to arms turns and their Baku Pound. Like, other aggressive decks can't play aggressive cards. Like, for example, the rogue deck, the rogue list I made last month to get to Legend, I had to run 2 Saronite Chain Gangs, 2 Tar Creepers, and 2 Fungalmancers, right? The Temple rogue list I ran last month, and that's because, you know, Paladin aggression is just so strong that I can't play aggressive, and that made my matchup versus Warlocks a lot weaker, because, like, I couldn't incorporate something like a Blink Fox, which is a more aggressive body line. So when you're talking about Spiteful Summoner, it's the same thing, right? This deck oppresses, like, creative decks. This deck oppresses the idea of creating, like, certain zoo decks, because if you can't, first of all, you can't go wide because of mind control tech, right? Mind control tech can absolutely destroy you. So you have to play like a tempo where you kind of either play 3 minions or way more than 3 minions to reduce the variable of mind control tech. And then You know, you have these if they have Summoner on 6, you have this massive swing turn on top of the minion based Kelesis and the 1-drops and the Glacial Shards from the beginning. You just get crushed. And the deck also, it really takes no skill to pilot. Even the Priest version, they both take 0 skill to pilot. You know, it's just you mug in for curve, and you curve out, and you just play your cards on curve every turn, because you have a reload like Infestation. You can Grand Archivist into Infestation, and you have Spiteful Summoner, immense swings. The whole deck is literally based around just playing low drops until you get immense Spiteful Summoner swings, and that's unhealthy. You know, that's just not healthy. It ruins the. It's probably part of the reason why the Whichwood has felt so weak as an expansion as the cards, because Spiteful Summoner's power is so absurdly high going into the Whichwood. So that's how I feel about Spiteful Summoner. I would personally make it an 8 mana card. I would get it, you know, or at least at 8 mana, you're expecting to handle big things like that, right? By 8 mana, you have the mana, you have the meteors, you have options to kill big minions like that to an extent. At 6 mana, you have very limited options to handle certain things like big swing turns like that. So that's how I feel about Spiteful Summoner. The next card we want to talk about is the Possessed Lackey. So let's talk about Warlock right now, briefly, before we get into all these Warlock things they're looking at. And the fact that they're looking at some of these cards, man, I am so happy they're looking at Possessed Lackey, because Possessed Lackey is the most unfair card I have possibly ever seen. Like, Rizaka's Anduin was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Rizaka's Anduin, when it came out, was pretty bad. Grim Patron was pretty bad. But Possessed Lackey has a form of oppression that is unheard of, right? Like, Possessed Lackey pulling out a Void Lord on turn 5, some people can't handle that. Like, could you imagine being a new player in Hearthstone? You come in, hey, this game's kind of cool, and you know, you go up against a Warlock, and you're like, okay, you make your little deck, and you're playing the ladder a little bit, rank 25, you're having fun, you're enjoying yourself, you know, you play a couple games, and you run into a Warlock. You're like, whoa, Warlock, that's a cool class. What is that? Oh, man, I wonder, this game, oh, he hurts himself when he does to draw cards. Okay. So, you're playing, and then turn 6, or turn 5, he drops Possessed Lackey, or turn 6, he Possessed Lackey Dark Packs. And now you're staring down a 3/9 that dies and turns into 3/1/3s. And on top of that, with all your little, you know, starter cards, you're getting Defiled, Hellfired, Joffreyed. You're just getting destroyed, you know, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that Possessed Lackey is a card, and it is that swing of getting a 3/9 body so early is so crazy, right? Like, It's already insane that they have so many board clears, so much healing, so much power cards. But then, you know, you just sprinkle in that turn 6 Void Lord, that's turn 6 Void Daddy. It's cancer, man. Like, it hurts. Like, if you can't kill that if you don't break that Warlock down by turn 5, he is going to stomp you. And there's nothing you can do about it while he sits behind a wall, right? A wall of taunt after taunt after taunt. On average, by the time you even get rid of it, you're pushing turn 9, where he can just drop the next one in his hand. That's assuming he didn't get a second Possessed Lackey and got it out for free, or Skull of Minari and got it out for free. You know, Possessed Lackey needs a nerf. It needs a serious nerf. It needs to be like 8 mana. I would nerf this. I would remove it. Like, if there was an option to remove this card from the game, I would, you know, or limit it that you could only summon a Demon 5 or lower, so you can summon a Dreadlords. Dreadlords are fine, you know what I mean? Possessed Lackey into Dreadlord, that's fine, that's a fine turn. Possess Lackey into Doomguard into Void Daddy is not, and it needs to be touched, and it needs to be getting rid of. So the next card we're going to talk about is Gouldon. So this is another card that I feel that I have weird feelings about Gouldon. I feel like it needs to be nerfed, but I feel like it is part of a bigger problem, right? I feel like Gouldon is crazy because Possess Lackey turns and Skull Minari turns are just so crazy, right? They have, on turn 5, they have 3 cards in their deck that are amazing swing turns. They have Possess Lackey, and they have the weapon. And I feel like getting big demons out that early, and the way how they deck things so fast and so efficiently, and how much life gain they have, it puts your opponent on a really short clock, right? Like, you actually expect them to play Gouldon on 10, most of the time. And that's because of the card draw, the protection from the taunts they get, the life gain, the board clears. Like, you literally, if you look at a Warlock's deck, when you get to turn 10, they're normally halfway through their deck than you are. There's a good chance that they have like 10 cards left, 10 to 12 cards left, right? By the time you get to turn 10, it's disgusting. And a lot of people, and then when you play Blood Reaver Gouldon, because of how many early game demons you get, how much life draw, how much draw you get, how much power you get, when Gouldon comes down and he summons every demon in the deck, and then he has a hero power that deals 3 damage and sucks and heals him for 3, that is intense, man. That is just unbelievably intense. I mean, it was even worse when we had N'Zoth. Oh my goodness, N'Zoth was so bad. But like, with Gouldon now, when he comes out, man, he comes out swinging, and there's not much you can do about him, right? So I feel like they need to either focus on the demons and how early they come out, like nerfing Skull Minari. Well, they did not mention Skull Minari, but nerfing Skull Minari and nerfing Possess Lackey and making it much later plays, so that way Gouldon is just not so unbelievably oppressive. It's to stop the uphill battle, because right now with the Warlock, there's just a constant uphill, right? You just up and 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 up every turn. Like, every turn is just so much more oppressive than the last turn, right? Every mana crystal they get is so much worse than the last mana crystal. And while decks should be like that to an extent, if you're a control deck late game, Warlock just does it too well, right? They have too many board clears, too many ways to handle situations. They're just too good right now. And I feel like a nerf to Blood Reaver Gouldon, while it may be warranted, I hope they only hit really the hero power and focus on how many demons get summoned so absurdly early with Gouldon, instead of just nerfing it altogether. Because a 10 mana card is still a 10 mana card. It needs to do something, right? So that's my feelings on Gouldon. Now they're also looking at Dark Pact. Dark Pact heals for too much, and the interaction with Death Rattle minions is too potent. Dark Pact single-handedly makes things difficult. It makes printing any powerful Death Rattle cards an impossibility, right? Because any good Death Rattle card negates the idea of Dark Pact being a negative effect. Dark Pact is really supposed to be like a sacrifice, like you really need health, so you sacrifice this minion for health. The problem is when they have such immense board presence early, they have Void Lords, which they don't care about the Void Lords, but they about sacking the Void Lords. But the little Void Walkers, the little 1/3s, just sack one, eat one up. Or a Beetle, I need healing, let me heal for 8 plus 3. So let me heal for 11 right quick. Summon the Beetle, heal it, heal off of it. Or, the cube interactions, cube this Doomguard, Dark Pact it. Oh, now your opponent just got hit for 15 out of nowhere. And I feel like Dark Pact needs a penalty. And somebody suggested it's silencing the minion and then destroying it. I kind of like that because it does stop what I think the true problem with Dark Pact is, which the healing is crazy. 8 health is way too much, right? 8 health for 1 mana card. 8 health is just a lot of health, right? I mean, isn't Paladin's Holy Light like 2 mana and that heals for like 6 or something? It's that card they don't play. But Dark Pact, just the fact that it does destroy a minion and it heals. I will honestly say I thought that the suggestion, well, one of the suggestions I liked, which was having it silencing the minion and then gaining life off of it. I think that's a great suggestion. That stops all these crazy banana synergies with Cube. Now, granted, Cube is still a problem, and the fact that they're not looking at Cube kind of bothers me a bit. But Cube is very slow when it comes to any other class, right? Even Hydronox Druid, when they summon the thing and then they immediately cube it, that's another problem. When they summon the Hydronox and then they cube it, that's a problem, but that's something that can probably be addressed at a later date for the Taunt Druid class, because the Taunt Druid class is still weak to like control mages and control shamans, but control mages and control shamans aren't seeing any play right now because, well, they are seeing play but not a lot of play because Warlock and Paladin is so oppressive, and Warlock and Paladin pretty much destroys these decks most of the time. So I feel like Blood Reaver Gouldon, I mean not Blood Reaver Gouldon, Dark Pact, it needs to be touched. It needs to either have its mana cost increase, it needs to maybe silence on cast, maybe make it cost 3 mana, alright? Or that, maybe 3 mana is probably too much. Maybe 2 mana. That will reduce some of the interactions, but as long as this card exists in the game, Warlock will be the de facto Death Rattle cards, Death Rattle deck, and you're just not gonna be able to make many decks that support a lot of Death Rattle minions. Or good, you may not be able to make many good Death Rattle cards as long as Warlocks have access to this card, right? It just may not be a possibility. Just like before we spoke about Possessed Lackey is one of those issues where you can't make a good Death Rattle card, and Possessed Lackey is an amazing Death Rattle card. So next off, I want to talk about Cobalt Librarian. So they're looking at Cobalt Librarian, and some people must be like, "What? Cobalt Librarian? That? Why they do that? Why would you? Why are you looking at that card? What? Why you want that? I don't. Why you nerfing Cobalt Librarian? So Cobalt Librarian is like a secret OP card. What's funny about Cobalt Librarian is it's not an in-your-face I beat you kind of card, right? It's more of a subtle sniper type card. He's in the background and he does his thing, and you don't feel it right away, but you feel it later, right? First of all, a 1 mana 200 primo stats for 1 drop. Primo stats for 1 drop. Just beautiful. One mana 200, can't ask for more. And then the fact that it draws a card, it does your hero power. There's a reason Warlock hero power costs 2, and they do it on turn 2. Cobalt Librarian on turn 1 is such an accelerator. It activates your spellstones. It draws a card. It thins your deck. So it cycles itself. It has a sharp 2/1 body, so your opponent can't even contest it with like most 2-drops get crushed by this thing. Most 2-drops will get destroyed. Your opponent, a lot of times your opponent can't even follow up with a 2-drop when you drop a Cobalt Librarian, because it'll just die for free. So on top of having amazing stats for 1 drop and having an amazing effect, Cobalt Librarian is too cheap. Right, this needs to be like a 2 mana card. It's really 3 mana worth of stats. Like the stat line is a perfect 1 mana card, and the effect is 2 mana worth of effect. The card is a 3 mana card, so making it a 2 mana card or nerfing it down to maybe a 1/1, but I still think it should be a 2 mana card. So that way, It's just a better life tap. Like right now, it's a way better life tap. But then making it 2 mana makes it just a better life tap, right? A life tap with a booty on it. That's it. You know what I mean? It makes it a life tap with a body on it that you can do something. So I feel Cobalt Librarian, is a major offender when it comes to the game and how it's ruining the game right now. But it's a major offender in a way that people can't see. It's probably one of the biggest offenders, right? It's probably one of the largest offenders in Warlock right now. Next up, we have Doomguard. This is one that I feel is horribly misguided. I do not play Warlock. I don't really even play much Zulok. Like, I've tried it here and there, but I don't like Zulok. But I do not want Zulok to lose Doomguard. I feel like Doomguard is a major part of Zulok's identity. Like I said, I don't like Zulok. I do not play Zulok. I do not enjoy Zulok at all. But I feel like when the fact they're looking at Doomguard tells me that either they have something in the pipeline that can also utilize Doomguard in a broken way, or they refuse to do anything about Skull of Manari. And both of those situations are bad, because Doomguard on its face is a fair card. It's a 5 mana 5/7 charge, yes, but you discard 2 cards to play it on average when you play it. Just because you made these cheat mechanics, Blizzard, doesn't mean Doomguard is broken. Doomguard was fine back then, before, when it would just come out with a cost and they would pay the cost and that's it. You broke this card. It didn't constrain design. It did not constrain your design philosophy. You designed cards that broke it. There's a big difference, right? Doomguard, it's not constraining design. You made a set of cards that can interact with Doomguard in an unfair way, and now it's gone out of control with Q block, and that is on you. That's not on anybody else. That's on you. So if they nerf, I really hope they don't nerf Doomguard. I'm not even gonna say what kind of nerf I think should happen to Doomguard, because I don't think it should be nerfed. I think Doomguard should be left as it is. I think it should be fine, because Zoo players, they need their Doomguard. They need a power play, and Doomguard is a fair power play. Discarding 2 cards for a 5/7 charge, I'm okay with that. I've lost to it before, But when I see they have to make a decision in Zoo that is really hard, especially in the early games. Like on turn 5, a lot of times they may have a hand, and they have to decide when they have like a Soulfire and Doomguard and a Gouldon, or they drop Gouldon in their hand. They may have to risk losing it just for tempo, and a 5 out of 5/7 that gives up 2 cards is worth that tempo to me. And then they try to back up on the heels, but with so much removal, even if a Zulok does do that and then they get board cleared, they're out of fuel and they lose. And I think that's fair, and I think that's good mechanics, good gameplay. But now we're looking at Doomguard because you made a bunch of broken cards that interact with demons. That's not fair to Doomguard, in my opinion. I don't agree with it. I don't want these Zulok players to get hurt by Q block. I feel like this is misguided. I feel like even looking at Doomguard is not looking at the real problem, right? You're looking at Q block. The real problem is, 1 is Carnivorous Cube. Carnivorous Cube needs to be touched. 2 is Dark Pact. Dark Pact needs to be touched. 3 is Possessed Lackey. Possessed Lackey needs to be touched. 4 is the Weapon of Gouldon. That weapon needs to be touched. If you touched all those things across the board, because it's not like Warlocks don't have intense board clears. It's not like they don't have Defile, Hellfire, Twisting Nethers, Joffreys. Like, it's not like they don't have 100 ways to try to defend. At least let them have to make decisions, right? Let them have to make hard mulligan choices. Like, if they can't summon all these, cheat these demons out for free, they have to make hard mulligan choices. They have to make a decision. What do I mulligan for? I have to mulligan for Defiles. Right now they don't give a damn. They mulligan for Cobalt Librarians. Like, cause they're like, I don't care. I'm just gonna life tap on turn 2 anyway. What does it mean to me? Like, Against most matchups, they're like, they can't even kill me by the time. If I get possessed Lackey into Void Lord, I win anyway. Dark, I have so much healing, they can't stop me. Make them have to have decisions, but don't nerf Doomguard. Doomguard is not the culprit. Everything else you've been doing is the culprit. You've been ruining the Warlock's demon interactions. You need to fix those. Do not nerf Doomguard, please. But you're probably going to do it anyway, because you're Blizzard. And I'll hate you for it. I don't even play Zulok. I don't even like Zulok. But I'll hate you for them. I'm really hating you for them. I'm not hating you for me. You'll only help me out. Because you nerf Doomguard in any way, I'm going to stomp over these Warlocks. And it is going to be glorious. But that's not my fault. That's your fault. Don't look at me. I didn't do it. You did it. So last but not least, let's talk about the pink elephant in the room. Well, let's say yellow. Let's discuss the yellow elephant in the room, and that is the notorious, the infamous Quest Rogue. So, first of all, I will say I saw this coming. I knew it was gonna happen, right? Quest Rogue was up and coming for a while. That nerf by 1, I knew the second the meta slowed down a little bit, it was gonna happen. And a lot of people didn't see Quest Rogue happening, and a lot of people think it has a lot to do with the 1/3 that heals, which is the 1/3 vicious, whatever it's called, is pretty serious, and it has helped Quest Rogue quite a bit. But the real reason, Quest Rogue doesn't need to run that right now to be good. The real reason why Quest Rogue is good right now is because the game slowed down. Last expansion, the number 1 played deck, the most potent decks, were Paladins, just like they are now. But Paladin was in a much more oppressive state last patch, especially Murloc Paladin. They had 3 different 1-drops in their deck that were all busted. They had the 1 mana 2/1 buff a card in your hand, buff a Murloc in your hand. They had the vicious Murloc, the 1 mana 1/3. Every your hero power turns into a Murloc, and then they had the 1 mana 1/1 Divine Shield, which they still have now. And what that meant was they were so unbelievably aggressive, especially to a class like Quest Rogue. They shut Quest Rogue out completely by themselves. They ruined the existence of Quest Rogue. That nerf to 5, plus the fact that these Paladin decks were so oppressive, Quest Rogue just could not hang. And really, decks in that time period last month, they pretty much only geared themselves to beat Paladins. Now, that being said, Quest Rogue was still dominating control decks last patch before the rotation, but it wasn't dominating it that much. So you combine that new 1 mana 1/3 with a slower, which is a slightly slower meta, because that's what we're witnessing right now. We're witnessing a slightly slower meta from last month, right? Last month you died on turn 4 or 5. Now you die on turn 6 or 7, right? Which is an increase. And the problem with that is that when Quest Rogue works, it works to an oppressive level, right? You feel like there's nothing you can do. You feel like you just can't win, and you just concede because you just don't even want to fight it, right? And my biggest problem with Quest Rogue is Quest Rogue's existence, right? Its good existence of being a good deck, completely. It's so unbelievably oppressive to control decks and some certain mid-range decks that it's just not fun. It's not even fair. Like you see it and you concede, right? Like I was having fun with a control hunter in Legend last month, and every time I saw Quest Rogue, I just conceded because I don't want to deal with that. I don't have enough pressure to stop him from completing his quest. He's gonna complete it on me, right? My game plan is late game. And when he completes it on me, I don't have the, unless I get like a Rexar with the most crazy build a beast known to man, I'm going to lose. And knowing that there's a high percent chance that I lose anyway, it's like, it's just so pointless, So how do you nerf Quest Rogue? Some people suggested prep. I don't really think prep is the culprit. I mean, prep is a pretty crazy card when it comes to like Miracle and Quest Rogue, because you can prep out the quest and prep vanishes. But prep has been always known as a way to kind of, it's like a -1/+1. But I think right now maybe the power level is too high. But I don't think it's prep. I don't think Quest Rogue and prep is the problem. I feel like 5/5s are problems, right? 5/5s, having unlimited 5/5s is a stat weight that is really dangerous. 6 of them kill you at 30. 6 hits kill you at 30. The charges are crazy. The trade potential is high. Like 5 and 4 health is a big difference. Originally, when they nerfed Quest Rogue, I was hoping they would just nerf the minions to 4/4s. 4/4s line up with things like Flame Strikes. 4/4s can't trade up taunts very well. It just can't. They're not as potent. You know what I mean? They're not as oppressive. A 5/5 is oppressive. 5/5s will break through your guard and still have time left for dinner, right? Like 4/4s, they can't even get through. What's the name of that Divine Shield? The little 6-mana 4/5 Divine Shield taunt. They can't even, like, they'll struggle to get through that. It'll take like 3 of them or 2 on a hero power attack, right? I think Quest Rogue needs to be dumbed down to 4/4 minions. I mean, at this point, they're probably going to gut it because Blizzard's so misguided in their nerfs that they have a habit of just over-nerfing the quest and then over-nerfing what it does. They might just keep it at 5 and then nerf all the minions to 4. Like, Blizzard they don't grasp the concept of buffing a card, and which is another problem. They never buff something. They only nerf it. And they only nerf it. They never go the other direction. They never balance. That's the problem with Blizzard. They're incapable of doing balance for some weird reason. They always just nerf. And when balance is keeping something on level, right? When you have something that's this much on the power level versus this much on the power level, if you just keep nerfing it, it's going to eventually there's a chance you just miss the mark. Right? You want to put these cards on like a sweet mark, right? When you nerf them, you want them to be good but not broken, right? Good, decent but not crazy. You want to change effects and keep them with the same theme, but kind of break them down a little bit. And the problem I see with Blizzard is they're probably just gonna gut this card because they're like, well, we nerfed it once and it still came back broken. Which, mind you, people were thinking that Quest Rogue was a sin. Like, how could you keep printing bad rogue cards? Why do you keep doing this, Blizzard? Why do you keep coming after us? But I feel like 4/4s would be nice. I feel like if we touch this and made them all 4/4s, I think that would really balance the situation. And those are my thoughts. That's kind of what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Discuss it amongst yourselves. What kind of nerfs would you guys like? What kind of nerfs do you want to see happen to these classes? Do you want to see Quest Rogue get gutted? Are you with me? Are you on I can't wait till Warlock gets gutted train? So these Warlocks can get what they deserve. Speak it up in the comment section below. Let me know, and I will see you guys next time.